Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Where the 99 Lead. It's a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville where we discuss many different topics surrounding the University of Pikeville. Today we'll talk biology and an upcoming haunted lab. It's one of our favorite times of the year, the fall of the year. So many things going on campus, and joined today by Dr. Darla French, Assistant Professor of Biology. Welcome back, Dr. French.
Nice to see you again. Thank you.
Always good to have you here. We talk many different topics, but Assistant Professor of Biology, we'll talk that today.
Yeah.
The Haunted Lab goes back several years. It's one of my favorite fall events that go on campus. We'll talk about that, but before we do, let's talk about Dr. Darla French. Give us a little background before your arrival here at UPike.
Yeah, so I'm going into my 5th year here at UPike. I have an undergraduate degree in biology from a small liberal arts school in Ohio. Went from there to Purdue University, got my master's degree in curriculum and instruction, so education, and then stayed on for a PhD in science, went back to science.
And at the University of Pikeville, of course, in the biology department, and the biology program at the University of Pikeville has many different parts and courses. Let's get a complete overview of the program.
We do. So we have a lot of different types of courses for students to be able to take, and they fall into 4 broad categories. The first being organismal, which is sort of more like your botany and entomology, looking at the whole organism.
Sure.
We also have a category of courses called ecology, and that focuses more on sort of environment and the way ecosystems function together. We also have a category that focuses on physiology, so looking more on how the organism functions. And then finally on a cellular level, molecular, and some things like that, looking more at the micro environment.
Sure. And many students majoring in biology. Mm-hmm. They're serious about the subject. They have future plans involving med school or other professional degree programs in mind. In what other ways have you seen UPike students use a biology degree in their careers besides those?
Yeah, there's a lot of different places you can go with a biology degree, and I think a lot of times our students come in and, as you mentioned, look at professional school or medical school as the routes they want to go. But part of what we try to get them to see is there's other things you can do with that biology degree as well. So we do have some graduates who are working in environmental monitoring, actually with a local company. They're doing water quality. And so that's one option, is to do environmental types
Sure.
things. We also have some students who are very interested in teaching and going the teaching route. So whether that is going into the high schools or the elementary or middle schools, or even maybe going on to graduate school and then becoming professors like we are. So lots of different options beyond just the professional
Sure.
school or medical school routes.
Other options are there, and then of course the Kentucky College of Osteopathic Medicine, the Kentucky College of Optometry. There's a pharmacy school locally as well, and we know a lot of those biology majors end up there and
Mm-hmm.
end up taking care of us down the road. You also recently attended the Appalachian College Association Conference, and some UPike students and faculty presented there. Tell us about that conference and how that went and some of the presentations.
Yeah, that was a wonderful conference. That was my I think my 2nd or 3rd time going. That's always a great time to kind of see what some of the other colleges in our institution, in our group, is doing. So we had 9 undergraduate students present there, out of only about 30 or 35. So we have a pretty good percentage for. It's called the Ledford Scholarship.
Right.
We have a pretty good percentage of the overall number of those being awarded being UPike students. So we had several that were working with Ben Clayton in chemistry on a project related to hemp and hemp fibers. Mm-hmm. So I think he had three different students that presented research related to that. We have a couple of students that have been working over in the med school with some of our medical school professionals, working on projects related to medical questions.
Sure.
So they were able to present. And then we also have one young man who presented. He worked with Dr. Meyer and Dr. Whittier on capturing and identifying our local butterflies and moths. So he was looking at a particular group of moths and trying to identify the large range of biodiversity that we have in the area. And he was pretty successful at getting a lot of new identifications for us. So that was pretty exciting.
Many people in our area, in our Central Appalachian region, may take that for granted, but it is a tremendous area to study that diversity.
Yeah, and we are in one of the most biodiverse regions in the U.S., and I think you're right. A lot of people don't realize that. Just living here and seeing things in your backyard every day, you don't realize the amazing amount of diversity. And the other thing that was really cool about his project is not a lot of that biodiversity has been documented. So a lot of the identifications that KJ was able to make was the first time that species had been documented here. And so it's a pretty cool thing to add that's going to go into museum collections. Like there's a gentleman at Smithsonian Museum that is interested in trying to document where particular species happen.
Wow.
And so that's going to be a great kind of piece to fill in the missing pages for that.
Students not just in class, not just in labs, not just working toward a professional degree, but research as well, and presentations, things that will be there forever in places like the Smithsonian. Presentations come only after countless hours of research, studying, work in the lab. Share with us the scope of these type of projects and what the process entails.
Yeah, so the Ledford Scholarship in particular is meant for upperclassmen, but ones who will be returning for at least another semester at school. And it is meant to be a summer scholarship. And so you can apply, you put in a budget, you have to put a budget together of what the research question is that you want to ask and then how you're going to try to answer that question. And so for the Ledford students, they spend almost every day in the summer in the lab working on their question. And then when this time of the fall rolls around, they have to write up a paper, and then they go to the conference and they give a presentation as well as given a poster.
Sure.
And so it is a pretty big time investment, but they get some really good skills out of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are some of the other types of presentations that were presented most recently?
You mean at the Ledfords or just
at the
sort of in general?
Appalachian
and so
Association Conference?
Yeah, at the ACA, there's a lot of faculty that present in conjunction with their students, but also just on their own sort of innovative ideas that they're doing. And so I actually was part of a panel of UPike faculty and staff. We presented with the libraries and talked about the innovative ways that we're using the libraries in the classroom. So Edna came and talked a little bit about archives and how archives can be used in the classroom. And Katie Williams talked about social media. That's a way that the biology department's been working with her, is integrating social media into the classroom to be able to try to get the word out about what we're doing and just helping students see connections between the real world and what they learn in the classroom.
Of course, UPike archivist Edna Fugit, it's been mentioned with not just your courses, but some other courses of how archives are used in conjunction in the classroom. Tell us how you integrate the archives with some of the biology courses.
Yeah, so I have a non-majors class that I'm teaching that focuses on food and nutrition. And so we took a spin of a pilot project last year with Edna. You know, she's very interested in collecting oral histories of the region. And so that class is a good context to be able to do that because food is such a big part of pretty much everybody's life. Everybody eats, so everybody has an opinion about it. And so we have developed through that class, my students and I have developed a way that we can collect oral histories around the foodways of Appalachia. And that was actually an idea that we got from ACA Summit last year. Edna and I sat in on the same session, and there's a group at Berea that are doing a similar thing. And so we got very excited. And so I'm trying that out with a little bit bigger class this year. So oral histories is one way that we are working with archives. Also, KJ's project that I mentioned, that's the Ledford Scholarship, there's ways you can actually go back and look in the archive histories and figure out what species have been documented here. If people tell stories about a bear, or people tell stories about coyotes, or those are extreme examples, but you can take that also with plants or with insects and try to see what has been here historically. And so that's sort of the next step that we want to work with her to kind of go through the archives that we have and try to figure out some of the species that are local.
Very good. We're joined by Dr. Darla French on today's program talking about biology at the University of Pikeville, and a little later we'll talk about the Haunted Lab. It's something that takes place yearly at the University of Pikeville. We'll have all the details. And Dr. French, during the past few years, the biology department has had a focus on sustainability. Give us an update on the sustainability efforts of UPike students and faculty.
Yeah, so I think right now is an exciting time just in the community trying to figure out what is sustainability is a hot topic in the news, and trying to figure out what does that mean and what does that look like for us.
Sure.
And so one effort that we've really been focusing on in our department is helping the non-majors, our non-science majors, who are sort of the rest of our UPike population, figure out what is sustainability and how is it relevant to them. And so I have a class that is my non-majors class, and we're focusing on the food and nutrition aspect of sustainability. When you think about sustainability, it's really sort of a threefold process. So looking at the social aspects, but also environment and also economics. So those three things together are sort of the pillars of sustainability. And so trying to figure out how we can help our students relate more to that overall concept. So I've tried it with my non-majors, and I actually would really like to get a class going for our biology majors also. I think it's also an important topic for them to be able to relate to.
Sure. It's one of those hot words, a hot topic that has only been around here for a few years. And there are people tuned in right now that, what is all of this talk of sustainability? Give us a quick overview, a quick definition for the layman out there.
Yeah, so for the layman, generally we talk about sustainability in context of human species. So we want to know how we can sustain our current standard of living without giving anything up, really. And when you look at the overall Earth, there's a limited amount of resources in order to help us sustain ourselves.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of talk about climate change, and if you look out west, water is an issue, being able to have access to water. And actually, I just heard the UN has decided now that access to internet is a basic human right. So how do we meet that need?
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of different components to sustainability. It can be a very complex issue. And the first time I taught that class is been 2 years ago now, was the first time I taught it. And I tried to put it sort of in a mountaintop removal. I want to talk about mountaintop removal and coal mining, and I think that is a really touchy issue for a lot of our students. And well, I mean, of course, because that's been a lot of their families' livelihoods. I figured that food and nutrition is a better way in, because that is something that everybody is concerned about. They want good food.
Right.
And they want sustainable food. So I've had more success the last couple of times that I've taught the class taking that approach to it instead.
It's brought a renewed focus on gardening as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are trying to get some garden boxes started on campus. So you may notice if you walk across the bridge between Armington and Wickham, there's some garden boxes out there.
Sure.
And so we worked a few weeks ago with Rob Music, has really been spearheading that effort to get the garden boxes up and running. And so we worked with him to build some of the boxes and transport some of the soil into that. So that will be an ongoing effort on campus. Hopefully we can make that. It's in a nice visible spot on campus.
Sure.
Figuring out what we want to plant there and how we're going to take care of those. I think it's going to be interesting to see that unfold.
Very good. This semester, a biology class is incorporating a cooking component, sustainability, food, nutrition, cooking goes right along with it. Tell us about the time spent in the kitchen and how this experiential learning piece adds to the course.
Yeah, so I really think experiential learning is so important for any class, just because it really helps the students be able to connect to the theory. So you have your theory and you have your praxis, and being able to put it into practice is so important. And so I applied for our experiential learning committee, gave me some money to be able to do cooking lessons, cooking sessions with the students. And we have thankfully found space at the President's house. They have graciously opened their kitchen for us. We don't have a location on campus that I can do that kind of a food lab, really. And so I was very thankful that they allow us to come in. We've invaded their space twice now, and we're going to go, I think, 3 or 4 more times this semester.
Right.
The first lesson we did was making an Indian dish. So I have a community member who helped us come in, and we prepared tandoori chicken and mango lassi. We did naan, which is a type of bread in Indian cuisine, and fried okra. And so that went over really well.
Wow.
And then a couple of days ago, we had our second cooking session, and we cooked with some international students. They had a Japanese dish and a Jamaican dish they helped us prepare. And then my students were tasked with coming up with American. What was our American representation?
Yes.
We did chili and grilled cheese and apple pie.
It works.
And it was really good. So I have one of my students, sometimes students sign up for classes and they don't really know what they should expect out of it.
Right.
And the first day they came in this semester and we talked about how we're going to do food and nutrition and very experiential, hands-on learning type things. And one of my students goes, "Man, you had me at food."
Uh-huh.
You
And
had
it gets
me at the
all
word
of us.
food. Yep.
It gets us all, and tying that into sustainability, it's a wonderful way to study food and nutrition. The biology club's one of the more active clubs on campus as well. What's the mission of that organization?
So that organization's mission is really twofold, and the first is to help the students build a community with each other, so that's their peer network, and be able to support each other and get through school,
Right.
and be a support system. The other mission is really to help them prepare for what's the next step, whatever they're going to do with their biology degree. So they host speakers to come in and talk about different professional opportunities, internship opportunities, but they also do a lot of social activities. And so we've had a picnic so far to welcome people back to campus. So the next thing on the schedule is Haunted Lab coming up next week. So it's a social thing, but also a little bit of a money maker for them. It really funds the rest of their activities throughout the rest of the semester.
It's really popular.
It is really popular.
Not just on campus, but in the community as well. My first experience with the Haunted Lab, I was simply a community member who had learned about the Haunted Lab, and the kids, we've got to go to the Haunted Lab.
Yeah.
It's very, very popular throughout the community. You mentioned the Haunted Lab, the biology club's getting ready to host that. A lot of work goes into that as well. Tell us about the event. Tell us about the preparation for the event.
Yeah, they've actually been working since the first week of school. So the officer team, when they got back, we had a meeting and I kind of sat down and we talked. About half of our officers are new ones this year and half are old. So we've got some that have some experience with running the event and we have others that it's brand new for them.
Sure.
So they've been planning since the first week of school. And we just had a meeting this morning, so I wanted to check in and see where they're at.
Right.
They've got their makeup is bought. They've got all their plans for which floors are going to be what. So it's going to be four floors of terror is the way that they are advertising it.
Yes.
And so that'll be running Thursday, Friday, and Saturday next week. And I think they're excited. They're always a little bit nervous too about the planning that goes into it, knowing if they're going to really be prepared or not.
So that will be taking place on the 27th, 28th, and 29th.
That's correct.
And it takes place where?
It'll be in Armington Science Center.
Of course, the lab space. And it's been there for years, and it's a great part of the Halloween ceremony. Working on the event, you mentioned officers. How many are involved in pulling off a haunted lab?
Yeah, so we rely a lot on volunteers and on club members. So I have 6 officers. I'm the advisor for the club. So we've got 6 officers, but then they're really the ones that sort of have the vision of what the event is going to be.
Right.
But they really do rely on volunteers from the student body, from biology club, but we take anybody who wants to volunteer. We have a lot of times people who are in other majors, but as you said, it's such a popular event.
Sure.
They find out they can come and dress up and scare people,
Right.
and so they come and participate as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Social event, raising a little money for the biology club as well. What's the admission to the haunted lab?
Admission, so for adults it's $5. For college students and kids under 12, it's $4.
It's a bargain.
Yeah.
It's a bargain. So many Halloween events taking place, haunted houses, haunted forest, haunted labs, and that truly is a bargain. Make it part of your Halloween this year. I guarantee you'll have a great time and you'll help out the biology club as well. The Haunted Lab's the biology club's largest fundraiser each year. How do they spend their money? Where do the funds go for the biology club? What other events do they take part in?
So they will fund going to conferences sometimes. So if there's a conference that they are very interested in attending, funds may help kind of subsidize the cost for some of those students.
Sure.
Also funds the picnics. Usually we have one at the beginning of the year to welcome students back to campus and another during finals week in the spring to sort of wrap things up.
Right.
Also funding speakers. Sometimes we have to pay a little bit of money or transportation costs for speakers to be able to come and recruit or talk about internship or research experiences. And then they usually also do some charity, so they'll donate some money back into the community. Some of the money also will go back into Haunted Lab, so they reinvest to buy bigger and better props or new costumes. This year I finally got them to purchase some of these divider partitions, because in the past when they make their maze through the building, they hang garbage bags with duct tape from anything, any vertical surface pretty much. And so I convinced them this year we can invest in some nice partitions that'll help make that setup part easier.
So the Haunted Lab is new and improved.
New and improved.
New and improved, new characters, additional characters, and a guaranteed scary night at the Haunted Lab. 4 floors of terror?
4 floors of terror. So we're going to have a clown floor, an asylum floor. I think there's one floor that's going to be The Grudge, based on the movie The Grudge. And the 4th, I can't remember what they said the 4th floor is going to be. But yeah, they've got themes for each floor as you walk through.
Very good. October 27th, 28th, and 29th at the University of Pikeville's Armington Science Building. 4 floors of terror, just $5 for adults, and bring a group.
Yes.
Haunted places, haunted houses, haunted labs are a tremendous time and best experienced in groups, don't you think?
Much more fun with a group, yes.
Oh, yeah. It's not a single experience. Dr. French, Assistant Professor of Biology at the University of Pikeville, our guest today, as we talk biology majors. We talked earlier, and of course, going on to med school or professional schools, but others going into education and going into laboratory settings with testing and those types of groups as well. If a biology student or someone who's at the high school level or the middle school level is tuned in and they have an interest in biology, what recommendations would you make for them in preparation for a biology major in college?
Just get involved. I think the biggest thing is to figure out if that's really what you want to do. You know, have a record of doing what you say you want to do. So for middle school kids, if there's science activities that they have after school clubs or some sort of thing they can do, get involved with that. Also community service, I think, is really important. So any way that you can connect with your community would be a great way to get your foot in the door.
And biology is very hands-on.
Yes.
If there's a middle school or elementary school student who has an interest in biology but hasn't gone hands-on, has just gone through the textbooks, probably should try the hands-on before they go too far.
Yeah, and we have in the summer a science summer camp for middle school students and for junior high students. And so that's also a great opportunity to kind of come get an intense experience for a couple of days and see if you like that hands-on stuff.
Dr. Darla French, Assistant Professor of Biology at the University of Pikeville, our guest today, as we talk about all things biology, or many things biology. Tough to cover all in a half an hour. And the Biology Club, of course, the Haunted Lab coming to the UPike campus the Halloween weekend. We encourage you to be there. But if someone wants to learn more about the UPike Biology program as a whole, or the upcoming Haunted Lab, they have questions, they're bringing a group and they want to know what the best time would be, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can give me a call or they can email me. And so my phone number is area code 606-218-5616, and that'll get me on campus, which is where I am pretty much all the time. And email is fine too, and that's just my first and last name, so Darla French @upike.edu.
Very good. Thanks for being with us again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always so much fun. Different programs, events, the Haunted Lab that Dr. French brings to us. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to it.
I'm sure I'll be back.
You've been tuned to Where the 99 Lead, a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville, the leading university of Central Appalachia.